The Enneagram is for anyone, anywhere where there are people. It's a people tool. And so anywhere where there are humans, the Enneagram is useful. And also anywhere where you are, the Enneagram is useful because it's a tool for self-awareness. Welcome to another episode of What It's Like to Be You. I'm Josh Lavine, your host, and today is a special day and a special episode because rather than doing an interview like I normally do, I am just talking with my friend and co-founder of the Enneagram School, John Luckovich, and we are talking about our intro course. We're taking you behind the scenes of what it was like to create it and work on it and produce it together. And also, as of today, officially, ladies and gentlemen, it is available for pre-sale. We are launching it right now. Right now. You can go onto the enneagramschool.com and then sign up, buy it for pre-sale, and you will officially be able to listen to it in January when we launch it. Date coming soon. We're super excited to finally get this thing out. As you'll see in our conversation, it took us way too long to build this thing. It took us over a year. It was incredibly difficult to build the intro course for a lot of reasons, but we are very proud of the final product and are really excited to actually unveil it and offer it to you guys so you can listen to it. You can also buy it for your friends or your family or your loved ones as a gift. And so there'll be instructions on the Enneagram School website on how to do that as well. And the holiday season will be a great time to do that if you'd like to do it. The pre-sale has a 50% off discount from the full sale price of the course, and that will be available for a few weeks. So go to the enneagramschool.com for details on that. And once again, we are very excited to launch this. That's it for me. So I hope you enjoy this conversation between me and John, take you behind the scenes of the intro course, and go to the enneagramschool.com to check out our intro course.
So you are burned out.
I'm tired, man. Yeah, I'm tired.
Why are you burned out?
Well, John, we just finished recording and editing the intro course, by which I mean I just finished editing the intro course. that we recorded and I edited over the last year. And it took us too long to make this course. Way too long. But I'm very proud of it. I'm very happy about it. And it's over, and I can't wait to put it behind me and to have it out in the world.
So you listened to hours and hours of both of our voices over and over again. What did you like? Obviously we want people to like be interested in it, but like, what did you?
Yeah.
What did you like notice about listening to it? Like and getting sick of us.
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually, not to be cheesy, I didn't really get sick of us. Yeah, I'm not trying to like positive, over, outlook too much of this, but I feel like I'm exhausted because of the sheer amount of physical labor that it was and how fucking perfectionistic and nitpicky I got about taking out ums and likes and little spaces between things and just trying to keep it like make the conversations really crisp and dense. And I literally edited it almost at like the sentence level where like I was like, or I kind of was like, okay, as if I was writing an essay, but it was just taking, like you said, a sentence over here, it really belongs over here. And so just making it flow, but like taking almost like a sculptor's lens or a writer, like an editor's lens to it.
Being a 3 is sometimes a disease.
Yes, that's one learning from this experience. But one of the things that was amazing, I think, just listening to it was, first of all, not to like blow smoke or whatever, but like we recorded this in sessions just like this, where we would show up and sometimes we'd be groggy and we wouldn't get to record for half an hour or so, and then we'd like sometimes not even record that day, but then we'd show up and we'd record and we'd just push play and just see what happened. And when your channel is open and you start streaming, it's just so clear and so good.
Oh, nice.
And so I was kind of like marveling at the access that you have to this kind of clarity just internally. And I was kind of like, let's see how to put this. It was actually an interesting noticing for me, like the contrast between how you hold the Enneagram internally and how I do, or how you. Let me say it like this: like, I had to go back and actually write out some of what I thought, and then record my stuff in retrospect. And you can probably like a little, if like you have a good ear, you can probably hear like slight differences in the sound, where I like overdubbed stuff or like punched stuff in from my point of view. But I noticed that when I was recording, when we were talking about, for example, type 6, I would say something and then I would literally like short circuit in the middle of our recording because something would happen. Like I would catch myself looking too intently for your reaction to what I was saying, to like affirm what I was saying as like right, you know? Or just like to make sure there was like a social like loop between us to make sure that what I was saying was being received. And then what, like if you were taking a sip of coffee or like not paying attention in some kind of right way, that I would like lose it, you know?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, yeah, it was interesting.
I didn't realize how I was probably just like looking at my phone or whatever I was doing. Like
you're just being social blind self. Like you're like, oh, Josh was talking, he's got it. He doesn't need anybody to listen right now. Yeah. But no,
I'm off now, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like pretty humbling to realize just how like insane and like dependent my nervous system is on that kind of like I feels like I so require a container to pour myself into, you know, like to speak into. I can't just like speak into the void. It's very hard for me.
I'm just speaking into the void all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
I have no sense if it's being received or not, you know.
That's right. Totally. But I think what that does for you is that it gives you a certain like very like you have such clear access to that private inner chamber where you hold all this information, and the information, like when you access it and when you go there internally, it's intact. You know what I'm saying? You're not looking for an external thing to like create the circuit loop that allows you to have access to that. And what I found is that sometimes I would have access to it in our conversations if our dynamic was really good, or I would have to go back to my like just be alone for a while and then write, what do I actually think about type 6? And what, like, for example, type 6 gets defensive about something. Like, why do I actually think that happens? And I sat with myself until I found an answer, and then I would write it out, and then I would record what I'd written.
That's awesome.
Kind of on my own time. Yeah. And so that was what I needed to do for my own process to kind of get the clearest answer out of myself.
I mean, that's, beside, like, so that ended up, like, you know, everything that I listened to that you, because I didn't listen to everything after, you know, I didn't like listen to the whole final product or whatever, but being there with you and then listening to certain sections, everything you say is like really getting clear. But it's like what's cool about it is like I don't think people understand their own learning process enough around anything, but especially the Enneagram. And so, like, I have a very, like, you know, in quotes, like, autistic style of, like, of learning and, like, processing information.
Yeah.
And, like, and you have a different one. And, like, for you, like, you know, whereas mine is, like, I do have this capacity to sometimes step into it's like an inner clarity about what's already there. I feel like I often speak in a way that is maybe overly too bathed in my own, steeped in my own inner world in a certain way. And like, I don't always know if my point is clear or if it's even relevant to others. And so like, you've got you're really good at like actually speaking in a way people can understand and like taking like pretty complicated like psychological concepts and making them like really like kind of practical, you know what I mean, like instead of him being so like, oh, and this how do I put it, like, oh, the shame response, and then this, you're like, oh, it's gaze, and and dismissing the gaze source and stuff like that. You like break it down and like really you know how to like make the inner terrain really navigable, instead of, whereas like I kind of feel like even though I think I have a certain like I know what I'm talking about, I don't always know if I'm able to like render a map for somebody else as that very clearly in the way that you do. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, but it's funny because my experience of you is that you are actually very clear.
Cool.
But it,
Great.
yeah. I mean, sometimes you can get like I don't know, too cerebral or abstract or something like that. But it's almost like maybe the point that I'm speaking to is that just based on our personality types, like you as a social blind 4 with a 5 wing, and me as a social first 3 triple attachment, it's like
Right.
your psychological withdrawnness and inner boundedness is such that you are almost like, when you're teaching, you're kind of narrating your own exploration of the kind of labyrinthine way you hold these concepts.
Yeah.
Your stream is very clear, but it's kind of like it's almost like your words have to travel such a distance, I think, from
Yes.
from the inner place that you're speaking from to reach the other person. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it feels like, so that's, I think that's why it's like you're like not really sensing or able to sense whether it's being received, because it just feels like, how could you even see that far? Like if the person's
Like
catching the words,
I'm chatting something over a large wall, and I'm just like, hope it landed.
Right? Yeah. Or like from like way in a cave, Whereas like when I'm speaking to someone, it's like I'm right there with him. It's like my words are not coming from the depth in me. They're coming from like just the out of my mouth right into your ears and eyes,
Yeah.
And I have to actually really work to withdraw into myself to speak from the inner place that I need to speak from if I'm going to teach the Enneagram. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just to access the place where I actually hold this information, where I actually, like, the inner fountain from which my insights actually come. It's like I don't have. It's hard for me to hold on to my access of that while I'm actually in relationship. And if the relational container is like in some way compromised according to my neurotic sense of self, or whatever, it's like, then it's like immediately I'm like something anxious. Like I get anxious. I have to like restore the relationship before I can have access to that thing. Or I have to learn how to just be like, okay, that's not important, then go away by myself to like reclaim access to that thing. So yeah, I mean, I guess this whole, like, in a way, this whole phase of my life, which the course was also a part of, is like trying to learn how to have more direct access to that part of me that has insight, and that the fountain from which that comes. But yeah, anyway, but that was kind of like, just from an editing point of view, is like, we captured everything you needed to say first take. Like everything you needed to say, you already had. You said it in the first time you showed up and talked about, for example, type 4. But then, like, once what I was editing, I was like, oh, actually, what I said there, I didn't really say that the best way, or I wasn't really connected to myself when I said that, and so I have to re-record that kind of thing.
That's great. Yeah.
So, yeah,
we have sort of different starting points, and like, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's interesting. We don't really talk, like, people just sort of think about knowing the Enneagram in terms of just like, do I have the information, and can I argue whose type is what better or something? And like, there's like, so one of the things I'm getting to with these questions is a thing I was struck by just listening to it. And again, it's us, so it's a little bit like masturbatory to talk about it like this, but I was like, I felt like it was like, I feel like the Enneagram like lives inside me in a certain way, right? Like I like when you talk about like accessing it in my inner labyrinth or whatever, like I feel that very viscerally, like there's an Enneagram map in me in some way. And I felt like the way that we the way that we were exploring each topic and type, it really did have this it really felt like it was a method of like injecting an Enneagram into somebody else, in somebody else's bloodstream. Because we had all like the distinctions that people get all salivate over, like, core fears and all, all these kind of like distinctions that people get all weird about. But we also had like a lot of like room and unpacking and kind of like delivery about like the emotional impression accompanied the information, I guess is one way to put it. You know what I'm saying? Like, like I think sometimes some things in the Enneagram are better with like getting the vibe of a type or of a part of the system. And then other things are better at like, here's the information, if that, other information is even accurate. I feel like our information is very accurate, but we also like imparted the vibe to like get in there. You know what I'm saying?
We're also heart types is the thing.
Yeah. Hell
like,
yeah.
I think there's just something about that. Like, I don't know of other two like heart type teams that are doing this kind of thing, in the Enneagram.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I haven't actually even put words to that, but I feel like there's something about that. It's like we share a heart forward lens, and again, I'm not trying to make this like how cool we are, but like it's just because of our type, like we're paying attention to the way that other people hold their self concept and speaking to it with a certain kind of emotional landscape. And so
it's good. That's what.
And the way that the Enneagram lives in each of us is saturated with a certain emotional intensity or flavor.
Right.
So that's part of our delivery.
Stakes.
Yeah. Stakes, you said?
Emotional stakes, like
absolutely, yes, absolutely. Identity stakes. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, me trying to understand myself through the Enneagram has like, it's not just like, oh, this is interesting. It's like, this is the project. It's a part of the project my entire ego is built around. Is
yes,
like trying
exactly.
To,
yes.
Trying to know. Now it's like, oh, like I can extend that to everybody. Like,
right.
This is the way to get a little closer to like what the fuck we are.
Right. Right. Yeah, it just brings up an interesting point about like there's the transmission and there's the transmitter, and the two are sort of fundamentally linked in a way. It's like, or the transmitter is the transmission, or something like that. It's like the teacher is the teaching. Like learning the Enneagram from an 8 is you're going to get a different version of the Enneagram, and it's not better or worse. It's just a different facet of it,
Yeah.
Like, have you listened to the whole course?
Not the entire course. I listened to I can't remember all the different sections, but like the beginning about like presence, the rage, shame, and fear, the instincts, the way we set up the types. I think I listened to a few types, so I didn't listen to the entire thing, but I listened to a good stretch of it. And like, I mean, again, we're kind of it's kind of a circle jerk, but like even listening to like the rage, shame, and fear, I was like learning stuff from like it was just so clear. It was just so good. Like these things that have been so previously nebulous, like rage, shame, and fear. There are these things that are just sort of there. Like feel like I always felt like rage, shame, and fear was not like really clearly like located in the broader layer cake of the Enneagram, right? Like,
yes.
Where does it sit?
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of like, oh, it's there. And we all kind of know, like we all feel how fucking angry 9s are and stuff. And we get the shame thing, but like, all right, then there are these passions. And then what's going, like, so where is it sitting in relation to these things? And yeah, I just felt like we like made it really, really clear and practical, like more useful than other sources.
Yeah. I want to talk about how good I think it is.
All right.
So, yeah.
Right.
I just, yeah. I mean, I know I'm just being my type, but also it's like it's good. I just feel like it's really good.
It is really good. No,
It
I
is
know.
good. It's
I
it's
wouldn't.
like,
I'd normally feel more embarrassed talking about something like this. Otherwise,
yeah, it's funny. There's a difference between like bragging about something in an inflated way versus just like, I feel really proud of what we did, because
for sure. Yeah.
I feel like the Enneagram is, it takes a lot of effort actually to wrangle and lasso
Hmm.
and collect all these really expansive, highly textured, infinitely kind of dense concepts, and then arrange them into a natural sequence to just be
Yeah.
ingested, for the first time. Like, I actually don't think I really anticipated when we started this how difficult the project would be to create an intro course,
Yeah.
because
Right.
I think it's in some ways it's easier to create an advanced course that's about a specialized, hyper specific,
Agreed.
focused topic,
Yeah. Agreed.
because you can just tear a little piece of the universe and then burrow into that for a long time. But to wrangle the whole, like, all the planets of the Enneagram into one coherent picture constellation was a real challenge. And like, we struggled with that too. Like, we had 5 or 6 different drafts and versions of the sequence of the program and what concepts to teach and which to leave out and stuff like that. And I think it was a smart decision. We ended up taking out object relations because it just was getting too dense and cerebral and overly complex, and
Right.
we were losing
Right.
some of that emotional flavor. That was like, we were losing the impact,
Right.
and I think people can just learn about the object relations in either a follow-up course or whatever. But it's just like, I feel really good about how we laid this out and how the concepts do actually build sequentially and cumulatively from one to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, I think like something I appreciated in listening back to it was similar to what you're describing. The sense that, like, when you really get the Enneagram, it's like not just a fucking little personality test or a little cute thing, but it's like, it's one of those kind of um memes, or I don't mean like shared like the things on the internet, but like a whole gene of knowledge that shifts the entire conceptual frameworks, like shifts your entire, it rattles every level of the way you organize information and yourself. And so when you're teaching the Enneagram, you're not just teaching well, here's like a system and here's like what it's made of, but you're trying to convey like a whole paradigm shift in the way that you relate to your own inner world and thus other people's inner world as well. So I was like, I didn't like I know that just like I just know that, but like I feel like we did like I hadn't identified how important that was, and then I feel like I think our course does a really good job of like of doing that, of setting that up in that way. You know what I'm saying? Like,
mhm.
you get baptized in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. You know what I mean? You
Right. Yeah.
really, you come out like, I think it does it. I think it like sets it up where it's not too much, but it does that, like, this is a major shift in my whole outlook thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Like a no going back thing.
yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I agree with you. We've only had a few people listen to it so far, right? So, like, well, I mean, I'll be curious to see how people actually respond. So this, I feel like we've created a work of art, and we're about to just like unveil it, and then hopefully people like it. But it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe nobody likes it.
It's just like, yeah.
What do you think? What do you think? Like, I know you're burned out, especially. What do you think the next things are? Like, are we going to do another version of this, or like a part 2, or like, what do you think?
Yeah. Good question. I I don't I don't 100% know. I think that in terms of the long-term vision of the school, the school, I think the school wants to become a place that has these courses like this available for purchase, that are not necessarily live offerings, that are just pre-recorded, really good, hyper concentrated, like just the Enneagram content that you can buy and listen to.
Yeah.
And the intro course is it's like the foundational piece of content. And I think of it as a hub and spoke model, where probably like people who discover the Enneagram School will have taken a test, probably will have a test at some point on the website you could take through us. That's a future project. But the first like learning of the Enneagram that you might do, you probably have listened to podcasts and stuff like that, but you've got all your disparate, like you've listened to Big Hormone, you've listened to other schools, different podcasts and stuff like that, but you're trying to hold it all together. You come to the intro course and you're like, okay, this is the place where I can actually put all the pieces together and understand what the Enneagram actually is, and see how everything, what the tapestry of everything weaving together is. From there, I think there's probably like a bunch of different spokes that you can go to. And so I think the developmental view, the centers and object relations is like a very natural follow-up. I think eventually we should have a course on the instincts that just focuses on that. Probably one on kind of like the harmonic groups. So that's like positive outlook, competence, and reactive types. And then also on the Hornevians, which is like assertive, withdrawn, and I call it conscientious. But yeah, so like there's different kind of ways that the Enneagram is organized into the different 3 groups of 3. I think we should do courses on each of those. And once we lay out basically the content that we're teaching, there's also like the set of live programs that we want to start offering, because I know we're going to start doing a retreat hopefully next March. But we're still missing something without having live offerings. And but yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm thinking about just in terms of the Enneagram School will have different arms. There'll be the arm of just like content that you can buy that's just like on the website. Then there's live online Zoom programs that you can join, like attachment support group and the sexual instinct class and stuff like that. Then there should also be in-person retreats and workshops that you can come to, which is a whole different level. And the way that all that fits together and the schedule of everything, that's like an organic process of coming together. So
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I see, taking a rest, taking a pause, and then, stuff we were talking about, like with negative merging, before we started recording. I'm playing with like ways that shows up in the instincts and how that's related to, I mean, just like everything. And so I sort of feel like if we did like a part 2 thing like this, it would be the instincts.
Yep.
And then, that could even overlap into object relations, just because like the object is, that's where we were regulated instinctually. And then our individuation process is moving that psychological energy directed towards the original object, displacing that onto, sources of regulation or resources in the world, and trying to being proactive in regulating ourselves rather than depending on our mother or whatever. But anyway, that's where all this personality shit starts, and where you project essence onto resources. So I feel like that, like, how comprehensive and complicated and touches, that's, I feel like instincts would be like a in quotes, like a part 2, and then part 3. I hate this thing. And then a part 3 would be like something like the spiritual side, or the object relations and the spiritual side. Because like when you neutralize the object relation, that's when you get into what's beyond an object relation.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So something like that. But then doing that, like lots of live courses and retreats, and like, eventually I would like us to be able to like certify people professionally.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And I feel like we could, like, there's a way to, use even this intro course with other ones and like, balance those out with live in person kind of things, like weave it
Yeah,
together somehow in some organic way.
totally. We were even talking about that for the launch of this program potentially, is like we launch it and then on a certain date you if you buy the course, but also you could also sign up for like
Oh yeah.
additional classes that we do maybe like once every other week or something, just to have a community that's listening to the course together and kind of processing the content or in some kind of way.
Yeah, that's something we should actually think, like, just like we'll get the fucking thing out there, and then
Yeah,
like maybe in like spring we can offer a live
some
accompaniment thing, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's a good idea to like have people listen to it together and stuff.
The other potential part 2 or part 2B that we should do is the shadow stuff that we talked about and the with the inner lines,
Oh,
because
right. Yeah.
we did well, like this is some it's amazing, like we recorded a lot of content and we wanted the intro course not to be 25 hours long. It's like it as it is now, it's a 9-hour program,
Wow.
which is already a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but it's built into like bite-sized 30-minute chunks. But we kind of, I think, like when we originally wanted to include the inner lines in this program, but we realized it was just too much information. It was kind of like getting unwieldy. But as we were recording that, I feel like we were actually discovering
Right.
stuff,
Oh,
and
totally.
it was opening up some really good stuff. So that would be also a natural next step, I think, from this program, is to have something like that.
Cool.
One thing I wanted to talk about was how, like, the journey of this becoming an audio program as opposed to a video program, and like just how
Yeah.
just how this came to be.
Yeah. Okay. Go. Yeah.
Yeah. So we all right, so first of all, like, just in terms of like my working relationship with you, just for the listeners, just for the viewers out there, just to understand how this works. So I'm usually like, hey John, like, can you meet on, say, Monday? And you're like, oh yeah, like maybe, like, I don't know, my schedule, I'm not sure. And then I'm like, okay, well, how about like 2 o'clock? And you're like, yeah, I think I can do that. And so, at best, at most, I get like 2 or 3, like 1.5 to 2 hour, occasionally like a 3 hour session on the schedule, right? So record this. And then we show up, and sometimes like one or both of us would just like not be there energetically for it, And actually, I do want to call myself, because it was not just you doing that. It was also me, like Mr. 3 prepared. Like I often showed up and was just like, I can't fucking today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so, so there were days where like one of us carried the other, you know what I mean? But we recorded all this content, and there was the period, remember, where you were editing? Remember that?
Oh my God, that was so. Yeah, that was. I could not.
I was like, wait,
Oh,
here's
that
a
was
good
miserable.
idea. I was like, wait, this is a way that John can contribute operationally. You could edit, because it'll be on your own time. You could have it your own computer, just do it on whatever. What was your experience with that, John?
Oh my God, it was so miserable. It was just. I just like don't. I'm just not like a perfectionist, or like a like like, I don't even know how to put it. Like, there are things like when you listen to what you edited, it's like so smooth, right? And I feel like you have a sense of like the kind of like in each sentence you have a sense of like the whole flow of the sentence, and then you have a whole flow of the paragraph, and you have a whole flow of the section. I can't hold all that. And so just be like, I'm gonna take out this and then I'm gonna do this. And it was just like, and I was getting so fucking sick of seeing us, and just like yeah, it was just everything was annoying. It was just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I just didn't have like, I just couldn't do, it was really hard for me.
yeah. It took a long time too, because we recorded our first 3. We recorded one long, just like, let's just turn the camera on, see what happens. We'll record just one long intro to like some foundational concepts. And at the time we were using Zencaster, and the Zencaster logo was up there in the screen, and
Right.
there was like a way to download it without the logo, but I didn't realize you had downloaded it with the logo and then spent like literally a month editing this hour long video, this 1 hour video, and then sent it to me, and I opened it and I saw the Zencaster logo. I was like, oh my God. And then I tried to edit it out. I tried to like expand it so that it was out, but I just couldn't do it it wouldn't work. And anyway, but it was like the content was like basically good. But anyway, so that was like one phase, and then I was like, all right, you know what? I'll do the editing. It'll just be faster and easier, and I'll just do it. And so and then I created slides for all of the the content sections with like tables that would reveal themselves in the proper order of time. So it'd be like a slide on type 8, for example, it'd be like, all right, essential quality, boom, aliveness, power. And we would talk about that, and then like I click a button and it'd say passion, lust, and then we'd go through that.
Yeah.
And what I was fascinated by was just going through that recording. It was like, first of all, my mind works in like a structured way like this, and I don't think yours does. No. Where it just doesn't, right? It's like like I'd put like the first thing on the essence quality up there, and then you'd speak on it, and you'd speak like eloquently, but for like 5 minutes about like all aspects of type 8. And then I'd be like, okay, next click, lust, and it's like, wait, we already talked. Anyway, so that was like kind of a funny struggle. And then finally, like I wrangled it all together and edited it into I edited all the type videos down to these like 45-minute chunks. And at a certain point I got to this place where I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. And then I went back and watched it, and I just had this moment of horror and despair because I realized it was boring. It was just it was bad and boring. And I was like, God, and then I felt bad because I was like, oh, I have been trying to like make John fit into like my structured way of doing this, and it just like it was like not working. And so and the video was boring, and it just was like it was like painful to watch and stuff. And so we just kind of hit a wall, and we sat on that for like 3 or 4 months. Right. And then
also for anybody listening, like we still have those diagrams like in like that information laid out visually in like PDFs that come with the course.
It's coming with the course. It's in the ebook.
So you have like a book that comes with this course. You didn't even mention, but so all that's in there. But I remember it was really difficult for me to try to stay with the structure. And because it's like everything kind of, like I said, like leaks into it, like it's all connected. And so it was kind of like a big learning for me of like, this last few years has been a learning for me around like what it means to work with different personality types, and I mean, it's like, it really, I try to explain like to my friends in like the professional, like working world that I work with, like executives and things like that. Like, I'm just like, it's not like, I don't even think like many of them have probably not metaphor and don't understand even what I'm saying. I'm like, no, like you don't understand. Like he's a genius. Like this is like, like this is, it's not going to be good anyway else. Like John has to be on this program, but he can't do the, you know what I'm saying? Like what you would normally think. So, Anyway, but what happened was we sat on it for a few minutes, and then I remember actually confiding in Emic about it. I was just like, man, I'm like kind of really disappointed because we put all this work in. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. And he was like, there's got to be something you can do. There's got to be something there's got to be something you can do, man. And I don't remember whose idea it was even, but somehow like the idea of it being an audio course came out. And I was just like, oh my God, that's so much better in every way. It's just so much better. Because it allowed, first of all, me to take out like the ums and the likes and stuff like that and make a much tighter edit. And so the information flows a lot better. I also think it's better for the listener or the consumer because you could just
You could walk outside and listen to it. It's just like a podcast.
Yeah,
you
like
know,
why would you want to sit there staring at us, while we're just like
at a screen. There's too much screen
yeah,
fatigue already.
yeah, totally.
So like I imagine future courses, maybe we do videos at some point, but
Sure.
I love the idea of an audio program to deliver this kind of content. And anyway, it also just made it like I took a 45-minute video and then turned it into a 30-minute audio and cut out all the fluff. And because it's audio, it's not distracting to have really like crisp, frequent edits where you would see like a really choppy video, but in an audio program, it's actually, it sounds smooth.
Right.
So that's, yeah. Anyway, so once that unlocked, it was kind of like, yeah, it just made a lot of sense. And that's how we ended up with an audio course.
I mean, yeah, I think it's great. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I guess like we're kind of like putting this out there as like, hey, this is why you should listen to this thing that we worked on.
Right.
So like the actual experience of the course is it's audio, it's 9 hours, in different sections.
Yeah.
But it comes with a book, like an ebook that's like a very like designed, like graphic designed, like thing with all the info, and it's really like it like distills it all, but like it's like it's just like if you looked at the ebook before you listened to it, it'd be like still really valuable and really good information, but it'd be like a house with nobody living in it yet, like the audio part like really fills in, like we were talking about that emotional center kind of feeling and the anchoring and the locating in the sense of putting meaning to it all, like the feeling of meaning to it, I think, and like
yeah.
That's how I think people will actually remember it and learn it. So like they got a visual part, they got the audio part, but I think like those all combine with the emotional part. It's like I think that's what'll besides it's just like being better content, I think one major thing that will set this thing apart is I think it'll like stick into people. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually pretty proud of the ebook too, because it feels like it's really meant to be a companion to the audio course. It's not, I mean, it could be a standalone ebook, sure, but we wrote it without, there's not a lot of text in it. We kept it sparse-ish as a reference. And also there's just like, it's visually just kind of nice and laid out, and there's tables and graphs and things like that. And so it's just, we hope it's like a pleasant thing to just look at,
How many pages is it?
37.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you want to print that bitch out.
Yeah, baby. So like, typically when you create a product, like the traditional business, traditional business wisdom is you select a particular kind of customer and you understand their demographic profile and what their wants and needs are, and you market it to them. So for example, business leaders who want to develop their EQ, or coaches and therapists who want to have a deeper relationships with their clients or more quickly identify what's going on with their clients, or individuals who are seeking spiritual growth or something like that. And I have had just like the hardest time thinking about like wanting to like narrow in. And I know like at some point, maybe the Enneagram School has specific offerings for business leaders or for coaches and therapists, stuff like that. But it's kind of like, if you build a vacuum cleaner works wherever there are floors. It's not like specifically for business office floors,
Yeah, right,
like,
right.
Or like specifically for kitchen floors. It's like the Enneagram is for anyone, anywhere where there are people. It's like, it's a people tool. And so anywhere where there are humans, the Enneagram is useful. And also anywhere where you are, the Enneagram is useful because it's a tool for self-awareness. And so, like, I think that a common question we're likely to get is like, who's the program for? And it's just like, if you're interested in learning about yourself, the Enneagram, spiritual development, inner work, that's what the program is for. And it's just a comprehensive overview of like what we think is the most powerful system for that stuff. And it would be very easy listening to this program to apply the lessons that you're learning from it in a business context or in a therapy context or in a friendship context or a relationship or whatever. And so we're not marketing it specifically for couples or for business teams or whatever, but like no matter where you are, this is a thing that could enhance that context for you.
I think, this is very like transparently like buy our course, but I actually believe this, which is that like there's a lot of people who know the Enneagram really well, who've been part of like Enneagrammer or listened to Big Hormone a long time, or just like floated through different schools or read a lot of books. But even still, like sometimes I feel people do want like, let's see, like there's a lot of like Big Hormone can be very specialized, and like we've developed our own concepts and our own lexicon and our own understanding, and we don't just like have like a here's Enneagram 101 so you can like steep in it. It's kind of like a deep dive that you just jump in. And then a lot of other material out there, or like schools or something, like as we've discovered and as we've been saying for a long time, like a lot of the fundamentals are off. Like, a lot of schools think that type 4 is what 9s say type 4 is, because who are mistyped as 4s, right? And it just like the conceptual drift and all that kind of stuff. So even if you've like known the Enneagram and been steeped in it, like this is a good like getting to the root. Like a good going back to the basics, like the relearning the basics, but like a basics that probably has a basics that has never been taught like this, because a lot of the basics start in a really misaligned place, and then you have to like go through a bunch of learning to go re-examine the foundations and see how the foundations were right or wrong, and then you're always kind of like, well, do I buy what these people say over here? Do I buy what they say over here? Like, what do I think about this? And I think that this is a really good thing to go all the way back to the start. And, even if you've already been steeped in Enneagram for a long time.
Yeah. And yes, huge point. And also like, like we kind of talked about this earlier with just how like wrangling all the concepts for an intro course, but it's kind of like in our content universe, like you have the Big Hormone stuff, you have like the Enneagrammer subscription service, where you can watch them type celebrities and stuff. But to enter into any one of these things, starting with their most recent episode, it's hard. You have to have a lot of context and knowledge before you can even enter into that. And at this point, people, we're on like our 200th episode of BHE almost, and just things like this. So it's like it would be a long journey to like catch up if you were to listen to the whole thing in sequence to like really get to where everyone's at. So that was also part of the impetus to build an intro course, was to create a kind of more efficient on-ramp for people, and to kind of harness all the discoveries that we've made in the last few years, as well, that kind of fill in some of the intro concepts that I guess really previously weren't really filled in, I think, like in the Enneagram world at large.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, cool. I'm really excited for people to listen to it and get their thoughts and impressions. All right. Well,
cool. Well, buy our course. Hope to see you there.
Our course. Our two starving Enneagram artists. Please help us. And
yeah. But seriously. Thanks for watching my conversation with John. If you liked this conversation and you like us, then please click the like button or subscribe on YouTube. Or if you're listening to this as a podcast, you can also leave up to a 5-star review. It's a zero cost, very effective way to support me and our work that we do together at the Enneagram School and the show. And if also you're interested in buying the Intro to the Enneagram course, then it is now available for pre-sale. You can go to the enneagramschool.com and check it out. It'll be all over that webpage. And once again, remember that for the next couple weeks, it is going to be available at 50% off of the full sale price. as we launch. So we are thrilled to offer this and really excited to unveil it, and we hope you go check it out. And meanwhile, for my regular listeners, as you know the drill, typically in the show, it is not conversations like this that are super promotional. Often it's conversations with people of different Enneagram types, taking you into their inner world and understanding what it's like to be a person of a different Enneagram type. And so if you think that you're a good candidate to be interviewed, I'd love to hear from you. I'm looking for all types. Actually, I also launched a new landing page for all the interviews. So you can go to the enneagramschool.com and check out on the menu top, it says Enneagram interviews, and you can actually see the interviews that are cataloged and click on anyone that you'd like to listen to from there. And you can also see which of the types I don't have interviews of yet, and which instinctual stackings I'm still missing some people, and how they're kind of unequally weighted and stuff. And so I'd like to fill out the interview spectrum. So if you're a person who has an Enneagram type or an instinctual stacking that is one of the rarer ones, or one of the ones that I have not interviewed very many people of, I would love to hear from you. Preference goes to people who have been officially typed by the team at Enneagrammer.com, who I believe are the world's most accurate Enneagram typers. And you can go to their website at Enneagrammer.com to check out their typing services, and also their subscription service where you can watch them type celebrities in real time and make very fine-tuned, accurate type distinctions. Okay, I think that is it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.